When I was about 8 years old, I lived in Syracuse, Utah, where it was mostly farmland and not like the city it is today. I had been sitting on a trampoline in my parents' backyard, just watching the stars and looking at something that seemed off. We'd already known that weather balloons had been around the area lately, but the thing that moved was strange, moving in a zigzag pattern both vertically and horizontally. And after asking my parents what it was, my dad, who, mind you, was a 6'4", 250-pound man, stood up, grabbed me by the waist, and led my mom into the house as quick as he could, locking all the doors and windows, closing the blinds, and grabbing his shotgun from the closet. This was the most frightened that I've ever seen my dad before. Later on, however, the stories he told me in my mid-20s told me exactly why he acted as quick as he did. He grew up in Georgia and worked on farmland for many, many years, which meant he was also outside a lot as a kid and would see things. He claimed that one day he saw what looked like the grays in the woodlands near his home, and when he went to investigate, he said he saw one tower over him, and as he ran in the opposite direction. So afterward, he saw the craft that looked cigar-shaped leave his home from the woodlands, and after he never saw them again. Explained them to be lengthy, big-eyed, bald, and slightly oily on the skin, giving them a shiny hue. My dad was never the same after this, from what he told me, and always had fears that they'd come back. And so, welcome to the first Alien Files episode of A Delve Deeper. I'm your host, Joey, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate.
That's me.
This is a podcast where we're going to dive into all things dark, paranormal, and cryptid. Each one with a story, origin, studies, and more, leading us to a truth may have been long forgotten. And I hope to make your skin crawl, your heart race, and your vision haze as we attempt to take a delve deeper. And so I'm going to say, yeah, that first thing that you heard was not me typing up something spooky for y'all to talk about. It is something that actually happened to me, and that was very odd. I've never seen a man of my father's size run that fast, and when he picked me up, that shit kind of hurt, not gonna lie. But yeah, I remember that very vividly as a child.
Yeah, that's an experience that would definitely stick out in your mind. Um, I've never personally had any type of experience that was like that, but I have seen so many different UFOs. Like I've seen some crazy stuff in our sky, and I happen to live in Big Sky Country and kind of like on top of a big hill. They call it the rims here. I live on top of them, so I see it all, man. It's crazy.
Damn. Yeah, I can only imagine. Again, this was my one thing that I can remember as a child that really freaked me out. Mostly because like it was something that was like jarring. Like as a child, having your parent freak out and grab you and do a whole bunch of different stuff, and then for whatever reason you see them grab their gun. Which, by the way, my dad was not a gun person ever. Just for context, not a person who owns a lot of guns, but he had one. And mind you, when he picked it out, it like the plume of dust that came from this thing was again. So it definitely must have spooked him something good. Tell you what, and I myself, I will say this on air. I will get huge comments about it. I am one to believe that yes, I do think aliens are real. Wow, I said it right there, right on
Yeah.
the pod. I
just
just think that
just
it's hard
said the
not to.
quiet part out loud.
Yeah, I don't think I need to be subtle about it. I think that shit's real. Aliens are among us.
No, I gotta agree with you, because even if you don't believe in that, you gotta believe in math, right? Like the statistical probability alone
Well, it's the same
should be more
thing.
than enough
Yeah,
evidence.
yeah, it's the same thing as like when they say like, oh, there's either two outcomes. We're either completely alone or we're not alone, and each is scary. It's like, yes, I understand, but the other thing you got to think about too is like like you're saying with the whole mathematic thing. I'm not saying that maybe we have something that's of intelligence like ourselves. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I believe there's a possibility.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of like absolutes, my man, there's stuff out there that we are like finding out to this day that might be like microorganisms. I mean, I know people were talking about the underground ice like fish thing
Yes.
on Saturn's moon
On
or
Mars.
something. Uh,
Oh, on
recently,
Saturn's moon.
yeah, it
Because
was
I
like
remember they
something.
found that pocket of water on Mars too.
Yeah, definitely that same thing. But they say the same thing about that. Like, oh, it was pretty much used to be kind of like Earth. Now that we're finding more out about it, it's like so. I do think that there is a lot of stuff that I think we don't know about it to really. I don't know. It's the same thing with like I don't
No,
know. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you're absolutely right. I'm a huge follower of the James Webb Space Telescope. I love all the pictures and articles that come about it, all the new discoveries that it's been finding and stuff, and it keeps finding planets that are like 70% similar to Earth, 80% similar to Earth. Like some planets have more or less water, and water is the biggest thing. Um, but like they just seeing some of the pictures from the James Webb Space Telescope alone has completely rewritten how we believed certain things happened or were formed, and it's just so crazy out there. And I mean, it's such a statistical probability. NASA has a planetary protection protocol.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with like I think it's so silly. But like the CDC has a zombie virus protocol, which is kind of silly.
Right. Well,
That
and
and then we
and I
have like
won't get
different.
into I won't get into everything it says. But I want to read the first paragraph of it. And it says the Planetary Protection Protocol is the practice of protecting solar system bodies from contamination by Earth life and protecting Earth from possible life forms that may be returned from other solar system bodies. NASA's Office of Planetary Protection promotes the responsible exploration of the solar system by implementing and developing efforts that protect the science, explored environments, and Earth. And that alone, they're just like, yeah, we're gonna be trying to go to other places, take things back from other places, and it's just crazy how much of like that's not an admittance, but it's pretty dang close.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. We've heard some crazy things before, and I don't think it's gonna get any less crazy on this show either, man. I I have I feel like throughout my years, I've listened to so many different podcasts and different things, and I feel like as much as aliens get talked about in terms of like, oh, like it's an episode or two on my favorite podcast, I don't feel like it gets talked about enough to the point where it's like, oh, here's the story, here's this is all bullshit, blah blah blah. I think there's plenty of stories out there that we can tell that are like really, really interesting. And I mean, they only get weirder and weirder from the first one that you read to the next one. And today we're actually going to be giving you guys a lot of stories that we've gotten from personal accounts, which I have a pretty big one myself. But I'm going to ask Nate, do you want to lead us off with our first one?
Sure. So I have a couple that are just from random people that I was talking to on the internet. So take most of these with a grain of salt, but some of these are pretty crazy, and some of these they got their friends to corroborate with me. Like they were like, I was with my friend, and their buddy is like, yeah, that happened. I'm not gonna do any names or anything for sake of anonymity, but I'm just gonna read these. So the first one is from a buddy of mine, and he says, I was walking down the street with some friends, and we saw something laying in the middle of the street. It was about the size of a medium dog, had an umbilical cord, a rat-like tail, gray leathery skin, opposable thumbs, a cat-like head, claws on each finger, which is in quotation marks, sharp teeth like a cat would have, and was bleeding, but its blood was green. Now, this, right when he told it to me, I was like, this sounds absurd. And if I wouldn't have even included this one if his buddy hadn't been like, yeah, it was the weirdest thing we ever saw. And like a week later, there was two different air plane crashes in that same area. So it's just a lot of stuff together that made me include this one. He also said that they went to take a picture of it at the time, and the phone that they pulled out died right before they could get the camera open. So they don't know exactly what it was, but it freaked them out. And he swears it was some kind of alien life form, that it wasn't just an opossum with no fur or anything like that. So I was like, okay,
Okay,
you
I
feel
don't
this
know
strongly
about
about
that.
it,
I
that
mean,
he.
that's a crazy story. And man, I will say,
Right?
umbilical cord rat cat thing, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think on the scale of aliens that I've heard of, that is not one I've heard of. Don't know what to call that one. Skinned opossum. Let's go with that. That's
Right? That was my
disgusting.
first thought too. I was like, so like a possum with mange? But the
I'm just
green blood
saying,
thing is what really was like. He
that's an
felt so
interesting
strongly
one
about it.
because I live in Utah. I live next to the Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, I'm really, really
Right.
close to it. Like legitimately, I'm not that far away from it. So I have visited there, drove by it. You can't actually go on the property because it's private property technically. But there is so many stories within the town near it of seeing green blood on the cattle that it's actually fucking insane. Like the cattle will have like green blood on them, or they've seen green blood posted around like you know how like most farms have barbed wire, like around the barbed
Yeah.
wire they'll have green liquid. And a lot of the
Oh,
times that
geez.
people have talked about it here in Utah, one of the biggest things is that somebody had actually sent it in to a lab at some point, and it came back that it
Yeah.
was a mixture. It looked like a mixture of plant and animal cells that were combined. And the reason it's green is because of
Oh.
the chlorophyll. And that's a big
Oh,
thing
wow. That's
because
crazy.
people, a lot of the speculation with that is like, oh, it came back, but it's like, oh, afterward, oh, it's all gone, right? So it's become legend
Right.
throughout the time that I've been here and alive on this planet. But a lot of that comes back to, yeah, it's at least from my knowledge of like my lore, the green could be a thing where they're using part photosynthesis and part, you know, actual regular animal cells
Hemoglobin blood
consumption. Yeah.
processing.
So they're using a mix of both to maybe survive. And so that whole green blood thing, that always brings me to that finding that's been around my hometown for years.
That is pretty crazy, but I could see it. It makes, like, I don't want to say it makes sense because everything seems crazy about it, but I could see it. You know what I mean? Like, it makes more sense than other things I've heard for sure.
Well, it's
This
also one of
next
those
one,
things where it makes you think about how like yeah, what they consume, right? Because we never hear they really have mouths sometimes. Like sometimes we don't hear they have mouths. So to think on that side,
right?
like how does something eat without a mouth or some consumption hole, right? And it's like, oh, well, if it didn't need to, if it only needed to get sunlight to consume and turn into sugars and nutrients, it could
Yeah.
survive the travels of space, you know, especially if you're nearby celestial bodies, stuff like that. I think that'd be very interesting.
Right. This next one falls more along the lines of like the reptilian types.
Mm.
Um, this one comes from a gal I know, and she says, a guy stole my phone. When I went back to his apartment to get it, he opened the door and his face looked like an angry velociraptor. It made me do a double take, but by the time I was done, it had morphed back into his own face. He gave me my phone back without any question and shut the door on me hard. I'll remember that forever. It's definitely scarred the fuck out of me.
Interesting. My thing with the lizard people is it's been tainted for me. It's been
Oh
tainted
yeah.
by that big boxy motherfucker, and yeah, I think back on the Musk skate the surfboard pic where he's got the Cybertruck in him. He is part
Bro.
Cybertruck. And then the fucking was it Zuckerberg with like, I don't know if you've seen the video where he has like a fucking barbecue sauce on display. Like he is the most I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah,
be
yeah.
human. Like that to me, that is what ruins it for me so bad, because I always think of the Zuckerberg shit where like he always looks like dehydrated and in need of medical attention, and then like behind him you just see he's got like, I love that so much. It's like, who the fuck puts barbecue like sauce on the shelf next to your collectibles? Like, what is that?
Right,
And then like he just never answered on the stream. He just
right.
didn't say anything about
He
it.
got his wife for her birthday a 7 foot tall statue of her made completely out of I think it was turquoise and chrome. And I was like, dude, and he just like sets it up in his backyard for her. And it was like, give a normal gift, bro. Like she probably just wanted like a cake. Like you're just going so extreme with everything. Like you said, it's like he doesn't know how to be human.
He's trying. He's trying really, really hard, man. He is honestly having a rough time. Uh, like I said, he's just the weirdest person I've ever seen interact with other human beings. Like, like you've seen delusional or people that are having some trouble speaking. I mean, I guarantee you, most of you heard like the Biden one word to summarize America would have. You're like, yes, that is
Yeah,
correct. I
yeah.
follow this man 100% behind that quote. And so I've seen some things, but like the weird shit that they do, it's kind of, I can see where people get that idea, right? Again, the same thing with like the reptile stuff. Like I think it is interesting to think about. Now, in terms of like camouflaging as a human being, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I
AI
feel about those
almost ruined
ones.
that one for me because there's so many videos of like celebrities and it shows their eyes like switching back and forth. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this has to be like AI stuff.
definitely. And like I said, at least for me, even if you were trapped here, or like you were born here as a different species entirely, I don't
Yeah.
think, I don't know what you would. It's the same, like it's like the Sasquatch thing. Like you would think after this many years, somebody would find something.
A body or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because it couldn't
I
be
have one more
that way forever.
I I have one more quick, like fast one, and then I want to hear yours for sure. And then I do have more afterwards, but I've been excited to hear yours since you said you got a big one. So, uh, this one I wanted to include because it's crazy because it's almost the exact same story. It happened to a mother and a daughter, but it happened 30 years apart. And I talked to
Interesting.
them both at the same time, so it was very, yeah. In this one, we have a direct location. This one, they were at night at Shasta Regional Hospital in Redding, California. They came out of the hospital at nighttime, and all at once the entire sky lit up like bright white, like it was basically day, and then went right back to black. It was almost like someone flicked the lights on, or like a big photo flash went off. Um, and both of them happened to go in for like a minor injury. Both of them left, and it was both of them said it was somewhere between the times of 8:30 and 10:30 at night. They couldn't remember exactly when, but it just was crazy to me. And I've seen videos of that before, unexplained flashes and everything you see online. You know, you never know whether to believe. But the fact that it was both of them and it happened to them both, and 30 years apart, was really crazy.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing as like the I can't remember what it's called. It's like Brown County Lights or something like that. Uh, and
Right?
they're like those lights that just appear out of nowhere, and like everyone's seen them, and then everybody's like, "What is it?" I don't fucking know. Like lights to me, I think that's like 100% something believable for me, because I'm like lights are weird. They get strange. They have some weird stuff that can happen. They're infrequent, but they're frequent enough that you can like, hey, like what the fuck was that? Because I actually do have a small story about lights that I will talk at the end, and that's a story from me and my brother on our first camping trip together, which was really fun, really cool. But that I think lights are interesting. I will say I believe
Oh yeah.
lights over the lizard folk,
Yeah.
just because I feel like there's more. It's something. It's an anomaly, but it's not like in your face anomaly. You know, it's like we
Right.
know what lights are. We we see it every day. We have a big yellow one in the sky. You know, so we see it all the time. But I think people underestimate like the strangeness of lights that are unexplicable, and they've always
Oh yeah.
drawn me to them. Especially like I said, like those Brown County lights. I thought they were so cool, because I was like, imagine like, because and then you have accounts of those which we'll talk on more, but those accounts have been around for thousands of years, and you're like,
Oh yeah.
there's no trains or anything over there. They, you know, and it goes back to like the Indian culture there, which is insane. But
Oh yeah.
for this
Um.
story, the or sorry, you had one more thing.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I do have more, but I wanna hear yours next. So.
Yeah, this second story actually happened that I got from somebody in 2020, so just around COVID time,
Ooh.
people. Uh, and this was really odd, because for those of you that would like to know, I live in Layton, Utah. I'm gonna get doxxed for this. I know. I need somebody to get my IP immediately. That's fine. I've got a guard cat outside. He's pretty big. He's really fat, but you know that's cool. He's a cool guy. But so my
Same.
second story kind of starts with an Air Force captain for Layton, which if for those of you that live in Layton or have been around Layton, Utah, there's an it's Hill Air Force Base in Layton, Utah, and I live pretty damn close to it, so it's pretty cool. You get to hear the jets, and you get to see them outside all the time. You get to look around and see a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's really awesome. And they do air shows, all sorts of stuff. But I knew this guy because I had been dating his daughter at the time, and it was really interesting because at the time my girlfriend had left and she went, and I believe she was going to the store with her mom or something, and they were going to be gone for like 2 hours. And I was like, well, I mean, I'll just wait here. I mean, I don't, I feel weird. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel weird like just leaving for 2 hours and then driving back. Felt kind of like a waste, and I was like, yeah, I'll kind of chill here with your dad, whatever. And so I remember I got kind of curious because I've always been a big Alien guy, always loved the whole thing, and so I decided to sit him down like while he was working on stuff. I believe he was cleaning his rifle, and I asked him. I said like, "Hey, do you think that you could tell me some stories of weird stuff that you see up there or that you've seen up there that might have been interesting?" Like, I just asked him in confidence because I wanted to see if he had anything, and I remember because this man was pretty rough. You know, he's a military guy, so he was really kind of rough with me when he would talk to me, stuff like that. And obviously, I'm dating his daughter, so he's already kind of on egg, like I'm on eggshells. But it was like he kind of like put the gun down, he put the wipe down, and he like put his hands together, type deal, and was like, "Yeah, I've got some stuff that I think you'd like to hear." And I was like, "Oh shit, man! Oh my god!" I felt like I had just won the lottery of alien stories for real, because I was like, "This is stuff that people don't fuck. They're big no talk about, right? Like they don't get to talk about this stuff outside of their work." But man, it got so interesting when he told me that this story, the initial story for him, was where him and a squad of 3 men were just practicing around the mountains, and he had been going through this mountain pass kind of by himself. They had to spread out, and it was like 30 seconds of mountain pass, if that. And he looked over and he noticed that there was something on his radar telling him that there's a cigar shaped object that pretty much was like right to the left of him. So he turned and saw the cigar shaped object just pass him by going twice the speed, and he recorded it and went back to the base immediately. And he went ahead and wrote up a report, got everything together. He's like freaking out, telling these guys to come back to base like now, because he thinks like we
Yeah.
could be under attack at this very moment. And so he was thinking about that, and so he wrote up this long report, wrote the exact, they took his meter in, did all this other stuff, and it was like, hey, like this is what I saw, this is what happened, this is what was going on through the mountain pass, and I was at this location, I was here. And then he tells me that his superior took the report, looked over his paper, and then stuck it in the shredder.
Oh.
And then he took his recorder, reset the recorder, handed it back to him, and just never said anything.
Huh.
He didn't say anything about it. Nothing. And when he tried to approach him later on, it was after it was his retirement party, in which they went all drinking out as friends and blah, 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 right? And he had taken a lot of drinks, and at the bar, the superior finally told him, like, I want you to know that there's so many reports of this same object and so many recordings of this same object that I get so many reports, as well as organic encounters, which he said organic encounters, that they just started shredding the reports because even higher powers told them to keep the information locked up or shredded, or they could lose their position.
Oh, jeez.
And so this caused him to move up to his position where he's the captain, right? He was the captain
Right.
of this thing, and he said, for the time that he did it, he stopped reporting. He pretty much had 28 other sightings in his within 4 years of him being in that position. That's insane.
That is crazy. That's at least 7 a year.
Yep. And after that, he had the same thing happen to him. He had somebody higher up than him say, "Don't fucking pay attention to it. You could lose your job if you do."
Wow. I do think it's crazy how many reports from different pilots and stuff that I've seen just doing this and looking over things that say cigar shaped. Like, it's such a specific shape, but it's not like the saucer like you think. They almost all say like cigar shaped, which
Yeah.
is crazy to me.
And the thing that really bugs me about this one is like, how the fuck are you gonna be like? Because I think everybody knows, if you're watching and you know alien stuff, you know Project Blue Book, which was announced to be a real thing. It was a real thing that we have now, right? And like that's super interesting.
Yeah, during COVID, they were pretty much like, "Oh yeah, aliens are totally real. We've made contact with them," and no, everyone was like, "Okay, but I can't afford.
I still need toilet
groceries."
paper.
Yeah, like,
that's great
unless they're gonna
news.
come down and fix the.
I can't taste food.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
gee, thanks.
It's the same thing that's been
Do
happening.
the aliens got a cure? Is that what this is?
Yeah, they do this stuff every time, man. I mean, I don't know if you heard of the recent thing that they had, where they released a press conference essentially speaking about how, like, they were like, oh yeah, like the zombie virus thing, like that's real. That's like, that's the thing. And then you're like, wait a fucking, hold the fuck up. And it's like during the presidential debates and everything, you're like, whoa, we gotta back that up. What the fuck do you mean? And it's like, oh yeah, like, we're not saying that the virus, like, it does. We're not gonna say they're zombies because that would be ridiculous. But does it
Yeah,
reanimate
exactly.
the dead? Sometimes. You're like, I don't.
Yeah.
Is it highly contagious? Maybe. Like, I
Maybe. We're
I
definitely
don't.
gonna have to drop all of that on the zombie episode.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that because I love the zombies. I love zombies too. I think it's a fun topic. But there's my second story, and I just think that one is so interesting because afterward, I could not get a word out of this man again. He just dropped a bombshell on me, and then just like, all right, nope, no more. Like, all right, man. Well, that's fucking awesome, I guess. But
That's funny. I got two more sort of big ones. And I did some digging around on this next one, and I come to find out the year is somewhere between 2008 and 2012. Um, and that's as far as I can narrow it down. But this one also takes place in Northern California, up near a place called Whiskey Town.
it's always the deserts, man. I
There's
know the places you're talking about are fucking desert, like desert area.
Well, so actually, Whiskey Town is pretty crazy because it's right. There, it's a whole town that like got flooded, right?
Yeah,
But JFK way back when went there and gave a speech. So there's a big statue and a speech is like written in stone behind him. But there's a whole town that's been flooded that's under the water there. It's called Whiskey Town Dam is right next to it.
interesting.
So it actually wasn't a desert, which is why this one was even crazier. But it's also like it's different than just lights, and it's different than just like seeing a reptilian or a gray or something. But like 13 different people told me around the same story, so I know that they're talking about the same thing. And that's what was like really crazy to me. Is a bunch of my friends from high school reached out when I asked on Facebook about this and told me almost the exact same story. So I'm going to read the one that I feel is the most eloquent here.
Gotcha.
So it says, I was with my brother and his friends. I remember during the night it was an eclipse happening. We were telling them a story about us being out in the woods at a bonfire, and all of a sudden, over the trees, flew past us a giant, massive green flash. There was a weird formation of stars that looked strange. The flash went off, and when we looked back, the star formation had disappeared. Um. We were trying to convince them that it had to be an alien ship or something of that nature, and we went to go investigate. We couldn't find where it was and figured we'd try again in the morning. In the morning, about 3 miles from our camping site, there was police barricades and SWAT trucks out, and nobody would tell us why or what was going on, but they had come in the middle of the night and finished setting up. Um, that night, since we had been camping the weekend, a second green flash flew overhead of us, but this one hit the lake, the Whiskey Town Lake that's there. Um, and he said, I didn't think it would happen twice back to back, but the fact that it did makes us like it gave us all chills down to our spine. We left our campsite, early, and all five of us, without a word, just drove back into town, back to our houses. And I don't know about them, but I think about that day a lot, he says.
Damn,
That's
that's insane.
crazy. Just two big green fireballs in the sky. And like I said, this is Northern California near a lake, so there's lots of like pine trees and stuff up there.
Yeah. Well, I'm also like, um, what is it? So like, okay, these balls of fire and things have been around forever, sir.
Right.
So for me, I'm like, dude, it's insane because I know of one story, and if people that follow this kind of stuff, it was like back in the 1600s during one of their travels between the Americas and trying to find, I believe, the Silk Road type deal. They documented an entire event on this ship that seen this big green ball in the sky, and they were like
Right.
all like saying, oh, the power of God envelops us and blah blah blah. They were talking about all this different stuff, and then like later on,
Right.
the boat washes ashore from where it came, and they're like, "Where's the people?" Nobody knows,
People.
but there's like 8 journals of these people just talking about like, "Oh, God's here. God's here. He just says we gotta go with him now." So, I'm a good God-fearing man. I'll see you guys later. Like, motherfucker, what the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah,
That's
so I
funny.
think about that a lot.
The next one I have is my father's. My father worked for the Air Force for a long time, and he was stationed for quite a while in the Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico. For those who are curious, it's about 2 hours from Roswell. I'm sure that's unrelated. There he worked on what they called the F-17 stealth fighters. But he said he doesn't know why they called them fighters. I guess they only had like 2 little drop hatches for bombs, and they were meant to just go in real quietly, bomb somewhere, and leave. So has no idea why they called them fighters. But if you know anything about the Holloman Air Force Base, you'll know that that's where President Eisenhower went back in the 50s to supposedly meet with alien ambassadors. And I'm going to get to that article right after my dad's story right here. Because they were talking about that incident when him and another person stationed there with him, I don't know if they were platoon mates or just hanging out together. But he says they looked up and there was almost something that looked like a huge box kite thing, but it had lights all inside of it, like blinking. And they both were able to see it clearly, basically have enough time to go, "What's that?" Point at it, and it disappears. And he said that it had to have been really, really big because they saw it pretty clearly and it looked decently far away. But it was crazy how fast it moved. It was just there 1 second and gone the next.
Interesting.
And that Eisenhower meeting they were talking about happened in 1954, 1955. It started in 54 when he was spending several days in Palm Springs on vacation, and he just like left in the middle of the night. Now they said he went to go visit a dentist. That is the official story.
Bro.
However, my dad says there's pictures of him on that night at Holloman Air Force Base, not with aliens, but with the I do not know military hierarchy. The dude in charge of the base. I don't.
Yeah, don't worry, man.
But my dad says, yeah. So my dad says there's pictures of him, like at that base at that night with the dude. But supposedly Eisenhower went there to meet with alien ambassadors after they got, and this is where that comes back into play from earlier, and it tripped me out. Supposedly there are pictures and evidence of a cigar-shaped object behind the extraterrestrials that met with Eisenhower. Now this all happened in the 50s, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while.
I can definitely say
but they
that.
tried to say the official story is he went to the dentist, but there's so much evidence against that probably not.
Doesn't that feel just a little odd? I always tell people all the time, man. Like when I talk about stories about aliens and stuff, some people will be like, "Joey, aliens? Really, Joe? You think aliens are really? You think they're the shit right now?" And I'm like, "Listen, bro. Listen. That shit's real, okay? I don't care. You can come at me. You can be like, Joey, they're not real. Come on, man. You're scaring kids. No.
You're scaring kids.
No, I'm
Think of
telling
the
you.
children's.
They're real. they're real, man. You know, because I'm just saying there is too many damn times that I have heard a very strange account, and like, why would this military man that told me a story, why would he lie to me? What
Right,
would be the
yeah. What
purpose?
reason
Like
does
the
he have to
purpose
lie
is
at that
like,
point in his life?
well, exactly, and the thing is like he's retired. He has no reason to tell me anything different, right? And you could say like, "Oh, he didn't like you because you were dating his daughter," right? Like, sure, you could say that. You could definitely, one could say that. But at the end of the day, why? What is the purpose? And plus, to the way that you look at somebody when you talk, like you can just kind of tell if somebody's bullshitting you. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if you've had that before, but they're kind of like you can feel it. You can feel that like they're kind of like joshing you a little bit, or like maybe he would have laughed at the end of it, like you know, dude, it's really funny that you thought that that was real or something. You know, like,
Right,
but no,
they either laugh in the middle or they go so over the top with it, like that you're like, okay, calm down. Like,
exactly. But for him, like I said, and it was weird for me because he just like never spoke about it again. Not because he like you could tell that he would like once in a while he'd do that thing where he'd be like he would breathe in like he was gonna say something. Just, nah, never mind. You know, just move on. And you're like, why you doing that, bud? Why you doing that? It's a little suspicious if you ask me. You know,
right.
it's a little suspicious, buddy. That's all I gotta say.
Mhm. Little sus, little sussy sus. um, but it's just crazy too because, like I said, that is like 2 hours from Roswell, and it's crazy how much activity that area seems to get. I
Yeah.
mean, shoot, the Roswell reports from 47 still say debris and possible life forms were extracted from the crash. There's a author, Dallas Tanner. He writes, it's called the Cryptids trilogy, but he also like
Well, now I'm
is
gonna
a
have to check that
well-known
out.
Roswell expert. Yeah, he's awesome. Dallas Tanner. Um, but he's also a well-known Roswell expert, and if you listen to or read what he has to say on it, dude, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't quite line up with official reports of what happened and what we now know did like happen that night. Like, not that the aliens were confirmed, but like other things that happened that night, like the weather didn't match up. The weather balloon thing doesn't make sense because it wasn't in that area at that time. Like, he breaks it all down and he comes with receipts. It's insane.
And those are my favorite. Those are some of my favorite like stories, and people are the ones that break down those inconsistencies because there are so many of them, especially when it comes to the government. Hate to say it, government fans, but sometimes your government lies to you. I'm sorry. It happens. It
Yeah.
happens all the time. So I'm sorry to be the
Yeah.
one
Has
here
since the
on
beginning.
a delve deeper to be the ones to tell you that. Suddenly we lose like one
You guys know
subscriber.
America was kind of like founded on a lie, right?
I don't think so, but I think well, my government only told me good things ever.
Oh no.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying, dog. Shit's real. It's getting
I
a little
know.
too real at this point for me, man.
I always love I always love when like 40, 50 years go by and then conspiracy theorists get proved right. It's like, at what point do we quit calling them conspiracy theories?
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will say that I dabble. I dabble, like
I
I'm
dabble. Yeah,
for it.
yeah, there you go.
I'm
That's a great
for
way
it.
to put it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I said, man, though, it's so funny to know about the differences between these different things, and like sometimes it feels a little weird when people are like, I don't know if you've ever heard somebody kind of talk about like certain experiences, but then they like one thing that always gets me is those that backtrack.
Oh,
Not too
right.
sure if
Yeah.
you've had
And
it,
they're like,
if
"Wait,
you've
well,
seen
hold
it,
on.
but
Wait.
Well, it's like we talk a lot about, like, we talked on some of that before, but like when people backtrack, it makes it really hard to pinpoint, like, is he telling the truth? Is this real? You know, and then we get all these different things that are like, oh, well, maybe it's not. You see, they're lying to you, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, of course they're going to lie to you, and they're going to say this, and they're going to do this. And then you get this whole argument of, like, did they, don't they? You know, do they, don't they? All over the place again. And it's one of those things that I think really doesn't get touched on a lot, but a lot of people do it. A lot more people than you think do
Oh,
it,
yeah.
especially the ones that after they come out with something, like all of a sudden, like they get in trouble for something, and they're like, "Nope, I didn't say anything.
Nope, aliens.
Actually, I actually never said that." And it's like, you did, but okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's like,
yeah, it's just insane, and there's been thousands like of allegations. Technically speaking, there's zero confirmed. Technically speaking, except for the ones that the government said were real, but
yeah, all of them are fake except the ones that they said were real, but then retracted that they were like not real. But they're not real.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were real. It's like,
exactly. Yeah, that's all. That's. Don't look into the Miranda Bach incident. But it's you know, I always love to talk about when we have these. I think I've done it every episode. It might just be my thing. And don't worry, in case you guys were scared because I haven't mentioned it, aliens will be going on the Caked Up Cryptid whiteboard, even though it's technically a paranormal alien file. They're going up there because
they're up there. I think they belong up there. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, but there's a couple of them out there that you're like, God damn. Shit.
Right. But it's the thing I was gonna talk about is it's crazy how much they've infected themselves into our like pop culture and stuff. Like aliens are everywhere, dude. They're right.
Dover Demon. I'm telling you, that's one of my favorite cryptids, man. Dover Demon.
Oh yeah. But they're everywhere. They're on shirts. They're in video games. Think how many video games have aliens in them, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Destroy All Humans. I mean? Like that's one of the most famous ones out there. You know, like I said.
Yep. Dead Space.
Dead Space is a great one. Don't play Callisto Protocol. You won't like it.
Right. Even Pokemon got in on the trend. They have a Pokemon called LGM that evolves into Behem. And LGM was for Little Green Men, and they look like little aliens and stuff. And then Behem was for BEM, which was Bug-Eyed Men. And so like even Pokemon got in on it. Like they've integrated themselves into our culture in such a way that it's while being marketable, it goes back to that whole they were like, yeah, they're real. And no one cared because it's like, well, yeah, obviously, still need to eat, still need to wipe my ass, still need to have a roof over my head.
That's
like, unless they're planning to come help me with all that.
Well, yeah, the fucking memes, dude. I love the memes that have come out lately that are like, when aliens are coming down, they're like, "We're taking over your race." It's like, okay, it's like we're going to feed you and make sure that you can work for years, and we're gonna extend your life period. And you're like, that sounds great, actually. Cool. So, like, that next week, 2 weeks from now, I mean, do I gotta let my job know?
Right. Well, shoot, that dude with the crazy hair from the History Channel just going aliens. Like, that was a meme forever. I still use that sometimes. I'm not
for real.
Like, they're so cultural into our culture
and
now that people.
It's something that's like affected economy everywhere. For Christ's sake, I mean, it's a universal thing for now, like a global thing. And there's like plenty of stuff too. Like there's a couple of ones that I'd like to get into that happened in Zimbabwe, of all places.
Yeah, I mean, even superheroes are aliens, dude. Superman is literally an alien. Like,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just saying, there's a little maybe our man knew all along. Maybe he knew.
oh, I'm
I
sure.
like I like the I like the entirety of all our movies and whatnot, like Signs. Um,
Oh yeah,
directed by
Close
what's his
Encounters,
name? Um, M Night Shyamalan himself.
Shyamalan. Yes,
Yeah, he created
with a
Signs.
twist.
Yeah, the twist was that they can't stand water, which is it's stupid. Not gonna lie, water kind of makes a lot of life possible. So if you are allergic to that, that'd be
Right.
pretty nutty. I don't think
Right.
that'd be good for you.
Well, same thing happened in War of the Worlds. They came down, were conquering for like a week, and then they're like, "Oh, this atmosphere's toxic." Like,
Yeah, but I mean,
wow.
it's toxic now. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, Jesus Christ, greenhouse gases. Our planet is a greenhouse right now, buddy.
Popular A Delve Deeper only take Jesus Christ, actually an alien.
No, I'm just saying, man. If he's rising and he's like, man, fuck this shit. People are crazy.
One of my favorite comics is aliens, like, looking at their leader and they're looking at Earth from space and like, we can't go down there, Bob. Last month they were lobotomizing pumpkins and now they're shoving bread up turkey asses.
One of them straight up drank my blood, dude. That was fucking disgusting. It's like, what?
Like,
Bro,
it's
that's
just...
fucked. Yeah, it's pretty gross down there. I don't think I want to go back
Pretty
down
gross.
there,
Yeah. But so yes, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that one, but let's talk about these ones in Zimbabwe.
man. Yeah, so there is one. Let me pull up the actual thing here. Good.
I was gonna ask if you knew what the Kardashev scale was.
I don't.
All right, well, I will get into that after you found it. So now that you found it, let's do yours because
This
I'm
one is
interested.
called the Ariel School UFO Incident. On the 16th of September in 1994, there was a UFO sighting outside of Ruwa, Zimbabwe. Now, Nate, listen to this. 62 kids at Ariel School, aged between 6 and 12, said that they saw one or more silver crafts, descend from the sky, land in their field near their school, and the children claimed that one creature or more creatures dressed in all black approached and telepathically communicated with them, all of them, of an environmental theme, frightening them and causing them to cry. This theme was pretty much to tell them, do not worry, you have to be the ones to make global change, or bad things are going to happen. You have to change your
Oh,
planet now. Like, and so
no
the
pressure,
sightings
kids, but
itself,
if you don't
yeah,
recycle the
you're gonna fucking
it's all
die.
your fault.
You're gonna fucking die. You're like, oh, so the sighting that Ariel occurred occurred at 10 a.m. specifically, and they were in mid-morning break, and the faculty were inside having a meeting while they were doing this, and it lasted 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So when the
See,
children
that's
returned to class, they told the teachers what they'd seen, but were immediately discredited.
all 62 of them.
Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
so it's weird. So BBC's correspondent in Zimbabwe, Tim Leach, visited the school on the 19th, 3 days later, to film interviews with pupil and staff after investigating. Right, he said, "I can handle
Right.
war zones, but I cannot handle this." And so he visited
Oh.
the school on the 20th. And so Hind, a girl, had visited the school on the 20th and interviewed children and asked them to draw pictures of what they'd seen. And she reported every single child told her the same details, the same story, and drew the same thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and according to these interviews, again, all 62 had seen the same UFOs, which they say one or two UFOs, at least 1 to 2 of them. They're split on that portion, but they looked like discs or cigar shapes. And so they were outside the property, and then between 1 and 4 creatures with big eyes dressed in black exited the craft and approached the children. Many ran, but the older ones stayed and watched. And according to these interviews, the creatures telepathically communicated with them an environmental message, which was just like, hey, again, which is just the same thing that it goes over. Your environment's gonna blow up if you don't fucking start taking care of it. And then they get back into the craft afterward, after grabbing some grasses and stuff, I guess. So they grabbed some vegetation and then left. That was it. And they were just gone. And so I imagine you come up and you're like, hey kids, I don't want you to freak out, but like, you're all gonna fucking die. You're all dead.
So what had happened was Big Recycling saw that the DARE program was just scaring kids into not doing drugs, but it didn't work because they used a big friendly lion. So they were like, what if we make these kids actually shit their pants?
You know, how else are we going to tell somebody?
It's all Big Recycling.
Yeah, how else are we going to tell them to recycle? I mean, we could like, right, probably, I don't know, throw a rock at a kid or something. Just like,
like, don't get me wrong, I do believe climate change. There's too much science behind it to really like deny it at all, and I do think that like we are doing more harm than good for the most part. But that is insane. But 62 of them. How do you discredit 62 individuals?
How do you
have you ever played the game of Telephone?
And yeah, exactly. Right? There would be information missing, which there is for those of you that are going to be like, but Joey, they said that they didn't know if it was 1 or 2 crafts or 1 or 4 people. You're right. But they're also goddamn children. They're probably not paying attention to that. They're probably scared shitless.
The fact that they all drew the same thing.
It is all the same thing. 62 drawings is the same thing. Enough so to get like attention from like a Nobel Peace fucking guy. What's his name? Harvard University professor.
Leach.
Oh yeah, Pulitzer Prize winner. John Mack visited this, and throughout that he investigated the whole thing.
Oh.
But he went through and did this whole entire thing with
exactly.
it. So. What do you say there, man? I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, there's no way that you can discredit 62 children who get that type of stuff that accurate. That's just... I don't know, man. That's crazy. I do think it's a little fucked up of the aliens to put all the pressure on the children, but... They're like, if you guys specifically, class... Hold on. 2B doesn't fucking take care... like, fucking...
Listen, I know your name is like Deshauna. If you don't become an environmentalist person, your parents are gonna die. And you'll be penniless and you'll probably drown. Just like
just throwing it out there.
I don't know how to feel about this one.
Like, how's your day at school, honey? I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Cut your plastic rings, goddammit. No.
Starts cutting all the like Coke bottles. Let's see, the little thing.
Yeah.
Throws all the straw wrappers in the recycling.
I do. I'm not gonna lie. That is something I still do, thanks to traumatizing commercials from my childhood. I do cut like the rings, the plastic rings that come around, like you said, Coke bottles or whatever. I do cut them.
Yeah, I've seen. When I was a kid, I remember I used to be like afraid. My mom used to tell me like straws kill turtles, and so like I remember like I would take my straw and I had like a lighter as a child. I know Joey, but Joey was a maniac as a child, and I would melt the straw until it was like a little ball, and then I'd throw it away. It was just like they're gonna die if I throw. I kill a turtle for each straw I throw away.
Exactly. So make them a ball, and then they'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
But so the Kardashev scale. that's. But yeah, that's crazy. 62 children, all the responsibility. Where's Captain Planet when you need him?
Dude, he's been dead for ages, bro. We need to bring that shit back.
For real. So the Kardashev scale is basically a classification system for like hypothetical extraterrestrial civilization. And it includes 3 categories based how much an energy a civilization is using, right? So like type 1 is a technological level, basically that's close to us on Earth. So if any aliens out there got like cell phones and like their own version of TikTok and Google, they're a type 1, same as us.
Okay.
Now, type 2 says a civilization capable of harnessing the energy radiated by its own star. So, for instance, if all of Earth was just ran on solar power, we would be a type 2 civilization.
I see.
And then a type 3 is a civilization in possession of energy on the scale of its own galaxy. So, it's basically like a super massive jump. But this was based on the Soviet observer Kardashev in like 1964, and there's been improvements and revisions onto it, but it's still the basis for how they find these planets that are super similar to Earth, and how we're going to apparently classify alien civilizations if we come across any. And it's really interesting how he like just breaks it all down. It's like there's like almost a numerical cutoff for a type 2 civilization, and that's basically how powerful a light signal from any point of the universe is to radio scientists. You know what I mean? Like how long that takes.
Interesting.
And it's just crazy.
That
like this,
that
like I
is
said, this was
crazy,
based on a paper from 1964. The Roswell incident is 1947. That's less than 20 years. And we went from aliens might exist to, oh yeah, this is what we're going to classify extraterrestrial civilizations as.
Damn. Yeah, like I said, they're definitely not hinting at anything.
Right.
At all. I've never actually seen. I've never actually.
This subtlety.
It's like, what is this? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, aliens are real, and all of us are doomed. And then 5 minutes later, like, yeah, but we're kind of already fucked right now. Can I have some money to eat? I would.
Why is milk $4 a gallon?
I just paid rent, so now I have a place to starve in. I don't really care about this right now.
Right. Gee, thanks.
But yeah, man, those were the stories that I had today, and like, bro, just those little tiny like stories that were just kind of passerbys and everything that probably don't get reported a lot on. Like, what the fuck? Okay, like you can't tell me like the government.
Oh, and we didn't even talk.
Oh yeah,
we didn't even talk about some of the big cases, like the Barney and Betty Hill case.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna go over the big ones.
Its own video.
And the same with like if you guys have ever watched Fire in the Sky, we're gonna go over his story. I love his story, and it is by far the most believable one I think I've ever come across in my life. So we'll talk about more abductions and stuff later on. But really, this has been fucking awesome to hear these different stories. And if you ever listen to these episodes, those that have given us your story, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You are always going to be a little bit. You know what? I'm putting you personally on my caked up scale of viewers. I gotta make a viewer caked up scale now. So you're up there. Congratulations. And for everything
All of you.
else, I really hope that we can dive more into these ones as well. I'm really looking forward to getting this rotation started. I think we'll do another haunting, one more alien, and then we'll swap back to one, and one uh, for our future episodes. So I look
Sounds
forward.
good to me. Yeah. Definitely make sure you guys are checking us out on YouTube and Spotify. And also, little exciting news. Later today, I will also be putting a Delve Deeper up on the Podcast Player app. If you're an Android user, it's a purple box with a little white microphone. And I'll also be putting it on the Apple Podcasts app. So look for us on there as well.
Gonna be awesome, guys. I'm really looking forward to everything that we got going on, and of course, I've loved the growth that we've had already, just from 3 episodes. It's gonna be awesome to have more, and I think
It
with
is pretty
that,
sweet.
I think we're gonna have to go ahead, sign off, and take a delve deeper next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.